Reddit by Reddit recap. Serious, what is the scariest thing to happen to you when you've been home alone? I was actually at a friend's house when her parents weren't home. We were maybe 10. It was her, my sister, her sisters and me. We decided to go swimming. There had been a rash of burglaries lately, but mostly garages being broke into. Anyway, we were in the pool when we noticed the kitchen lights turn on. It was evening. We assumed her parents so looked in the window to do something stupid to get their attention when we realized we do not know the individual in the house. We hid behind the wall of the pool, above ground, terrified until her parents finally came home. It appeared as though he got spooked as he only ransacked the kitchen and left the garage door wide open when fleeing. It was a hot summer and my parents went to a wedding. I had a project to do and it was like 1 AM and silent until a random drunk dude crawled in through my window with a bottle and blush face. I was 20 feet away at my desk from the window and we both just stared at each other. He was flustered and said, "Oh sorry there kid, wrong house," and attempts to leave the way he came. He was drunk and dizzy, so I helped him by pushing him out the window. I thoroughly shut it and stared at it for 2 hours until my parents came home. Edit. First up, vote above 50. Wow, I'll try and read all if not most and reply if I can. I was in my basement where the computer was playing some game, probably RuneScape, and heard someone pull into the driveway, naturally assuming it was my mother who was coming home from work. I heard the screen door open, but when no one opened the lock on the actual door, I started to go upstairs and I saw a pair of legs go by the window. While the basement was underground, there was about a foot that popped up above ground level and had 2 windows. I go upstairs and see 2 dudes in my backyard looking at the windows and talking about the door was locked. It was an attempted home robbery. We had been broken into a few times at that point and had everything locked. But 10-year-old me was terrified. Edit. Because you guys keep asking. They just left. Nothing happened. No home alone shit. I did not get killed. I am very much alive. My grandparents paid me to house sit for them and take care of their animals, 2 dogs, 2 goats and like 3 or 4 horses, for 2 weeks. One of the dogs was really clingy, so I closed the door on him when I went to bed one night. I woke up in the middle of the night but I was too tired to move, but I saw a black figure with a white face standing right beside the bed. It was making this horrific growling noise and leaned into me and pressed down on my chest. It pressed harder and harder and then I was able to move my fingers and then I was eventually able to move my body, but after that, I let the dog sleep in the room and I slept with the lights on. That was the first time I experienced sleep paralysis, and thankfully the times after that one weren't freaky. Started choking on a clump of my yikes. Only survived because I tripped and fell on the couch in such a way that it dislodged the candy. I was nearly killed, then saved by being a klutz. My girlfriend and I both travel a lot for work, pre-COVID, so it's not unusual for only one of us to be home on any given week. Last fall she was in San Francisco and I was home alone for a few days. We live in an apartment on the top floor of a building. Above us is a roof with a deck available to everyone. Middle of the night I get up to use the bathroom and on the walk back to bed I look over to the study. There's a sliding door in the study leading to a balcony. I immediately stop dead in my tracks. I see the outline of a person standing on my balcony, facing me. I run over, hit the lights, grab a knife from the knife block and start dialing 911. The person is a kid, no more than 16. He sees me hit the lights, grab a knife and my phone, and he immediately grabs the railing on my balcony and flings himself over. I run over, assuming I just watched someone kill themselves, only to see him safe and sound on the balcony below me. He then hurdles off the balcony. He's jumping from floor to floor. He hits the parking lot in the back of our building safely and then sprints off. Cops finally come and break up a party on the roof. Turns out he was just a drunk friend of someone on the 2nd floor and got dared to do it. Also shout out to my dog for being asleep 15 feet from the balcony and not doing anything. Not sure if this counts. Was working on a farm in northern Car. It was a startup and I was the only person, at nights, on an isolated 650 acres. After dinner, was walking from the lodge to my cabin. 100 yards plus. It's dark, so all I can see is what my flashlight illuminates plus a little on the periphery of the main beam. Anyway, walking back and in the periphery I see red ducking eyes staring at me unblinkingly. I turn the light on it and all I see is a pale white mass behind the still red eyes. I freak. Takes a little bit to get me jumpy, but this sure as hell did. Picture a 6 feet 5 inches 260 pounds man. Now picture him letting out an unbelievably high pitched scream and straight sprinting into his cabin. 50 yards or so. The next day I was talking to one of the guys that come up to help out during the day, told him what happened and he about fell over laughing. I think the sincere terror in my voice as I described the pale monster really drove the funny nail home for him. Well, turns out there's such a thing as albino deer and just so happens one frequents this property. Nobody thought to warn me beforehand. Edit. Punctuation edit edit. Thanks for the awards and all the likes. This was exciting to wake up to. When I was around 8 or 9, my mum commuted to a major city about an hour/hour and a half away, so I would bring myself home from school, about 100 meters away, lock the door and watch cartoons or play Neopets until she got home. We lived in apartment blocks, and one day one of the older male people in the apartment lost his wallet, and he figured it must have been me. Keep in mind, I've never stolen anything in my life or had any trouble with the law, and I had no clue what he was talking about. He came and banged on the door so aggressively that I jumped out of my skin and was belligerent demanding I open the door. I rang mum crying and she jumped on a train to come home, but she was an hour and a half away. She called some friends and they came and got me, and at that stage he had taken a break and gone back to his apartment, but left his dry cleaning there. When mum got back, she stormed straight to his door and pounded on it like he had done to our door. He came to the door, all shocked, and she demanded to know why he thought it was appropriate to bang on the door for an hour to scare a little girl. He replied that he thought I stole his wallet. Mum asked him if he still thought I did, and he said no, I found it in the car park. She looked like she wanted to kill him and forced him to apologize. Also, in that same apartment block, there was a hairline fracture on the sliding door that we didn't know about. A strong wind blew and shattered the entire window inwards. I was home alone then too. That was scary as duck. The lights turned off all at once while I was in the kitchen. It was pitch black. I heard the door open. For some reason, instead of thinking power outage, my brain went to someone has cut the power and is coming to kill me. I grabbed the landline, the knife, and was crouched behind the kitchen counter hearing steps come through the house, trying to breathe as quietly as possible. Then I hear my mom go, "Hello? Anyone home?" The power went out by chance at the exact moment she came in the door. That would have been an awkward hospital trip. Someone tried to break into my neighbor's house while I was babysitting their kids. I was 15 and I used to babysit for my neighbors down the block. They had a really nice house, 3 floors with a built-in garage under the house that connected to the basement. It was the family's most used entrance of the house and they rarely locked the basement door as long as the garage was closed. They also had a type of security system where anytime a door opens you heard beep beep beep. After the parents left one night, I was putting the kids to bed and I heard the beep beep beep. I yelled out, thinking it was the parents coming back for something, but no one answered. The system on the wall kept reading basement door open. I was freaked out, so I called my dad and asked him to come by since he was only a few houses away. When he arrived, he told me to stay in the kitchen while he checked the house, but before he could, we heard the beep 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 again and then the garage door opened. When we ran to the window to see if the parents were pulling into the driveway, they weren't. Instead, someone in a hoodie was running out of the garage door and into the woods behind the house. My dad ended up calling the cops. I'm still creeped out by it. I was watching some sort of ghost TV show about demons or something in my basement, home alone when I was probably 14 or 15. A ducking turkey walked up to the sliding door and started tapping on the glass. I noped the duck out of that basement so fast, I don't think I ever watched that show again either. Edit. The show was called A Haunting. Edit 2. My first award. Thanks you/Unibug 1988. Glad I could give someone a good laugh. Also love that my most popular comment is about being terrorized by a turkey. Not super scary, but one time when I was like 11 I was home alone at night and got a call from the local sheriff's office who told me they just had a drop 911 call from this number, my house landline, and asked if I was okay. I didn't call them. Nobody else was home to call them. IDK, it just creeped me out a lot. My house came with an alarm that kept track of movement in every room. I set the alarm before bed, but I woke up in the middle of the night because it was alerting me that there was movement going back and forth between my guest bedroom, down the hall, and into my office. My alarm has a robotic speaking voice, so in the dark I'd hear it say, movement guest bedroom, movement second floor hallway, movement office, etc. I assume it was a glitch, and nothing to worry about. But I ended up turning that function off. I also heard human footsteps above me in my attic once. Home alone while my wife was out of town. But I posted that one already months ago. Clarification edit. My original phrasing is confusing. So I wanted to clarify. I got up immediately and searched through my entire house. Couldn't find anything. Figured it was a glitch. And turned the feature off the next day. I didn't ignore the alarm that night. Heard gunshots when I was home alone for the first time as a 12-year-old. Turns out my neighbor was a murderer. At least 12 cop cars and like 2 fire trucks showed up and I thought it was the end of the world. It was spooky movie night at a friend's and we were 3 movies deep. Just finished watching Dark Skies. I was hungry so I was like, alright, getting my leftovers. So I went downstairs by myself. When I closed the fridge I caught movement out of the corner of my eye, and when I turned to see what it was there was a ghostly white, skeletal thing just staring at me from outside the patio, with shimmering hazy lights pulsing behind it. I ducking freaked, dropped my food and run up the stairs nearly in tears babbling about someone or thing in the backyard. Turns out it was just my own reflection mixed with the lights and steam from the hot tub outside, but I've never been so scared in my life. Best comment of the day. It didn't happen to me per se, but I was home alone in the apartment, and usually in public housing you can hear every cough from your neighbors. This time it was the kid upstairs, always running and yelling, very excitable kid. Anyway, he's doing his usual tumbling around upstairs when all of a sudden there's this god-awful thud from upstairs. And it goes quiet, just as I thought, oh god, I hope these his piercing wails fill the whole building, sending chills down your spine in a way that every parent or sibling has felt before. The OMG the baby feeling when you fear the worst. More thuds happen as I think the dad comes in screaming, and the kids crying. Suddenly you hear a panicked call 911 from the father as more shouts are heard as the family converge on this wailing kid. It felt like hours before you heard the ambulance and fire truck sirens coming up the block, and soon the thumping of paramedics as they tended to the kid. Thank God. Thank God he just fell super hard but nothing was broken, a few fractures and bad bruises, and he was okay. And to this day he thumps, howls and yells at his older brother during video game time upstairs to this day.